Hey everyone, it's time to finish up our quests in Chapter 4. Last time we finished all of the non-repeatable quests, and there's still a voice from below the sea, but none of those rewards are actually very good. So I'm not going to repeat it. Plus, I don't think it was all that great in the first place. So we'll check out the DLC quests. And there's one new one. It sounds kind of familiar. I think I might actually remember this one from the first time I played. But we'll see when we find out what the rules are. Yep, this is indeed the quest that I remember from when I played the game before. And believe it or not, this is the one I never beat. Partly because by the time I got around to getting the DLC, I think it was after I'd let the game sit for several years and hadn't played it for a long time. I didn't remember how a lot of the folks operated, and I never built them up. I don't know, this time I think I've got a fighting chance. I think what this is saying is you've only got one chance to capture each folk. But I'm not entirely clear on that. I don't think I ever actually left a room and then came back with any folks that I hadn't defeated. And we start with a pretty full room. So here's how the quest goes. I fight with Puka at first, and when I capture Barrager, now that's the only folk I can use. So one of the biggest annoyances of this quest is the fact that you don't get a shield. You just have to dodge everything. It's not too bad in a room like this, even with as many folks as there are. But later on, it's going to become a real problem. And if you capture two different folks at the same time, then there's some rule for determining which one it was. But the path to the long route has opened. I'm gonna go ahead and capture the... there it is, the final Azrai, so that I can take the short route. Because I'm not really concerned with capturing a lot of folks at this point, I just want to get to the end and beat this quest if I can. Like I said, I never managed to do it before, and this may be why. I mean, one Boobry is bad enough to fight with a shield. And now I've got to fight two of them, and I just woke up the Ogma. All three of them with one folk, no shields, and of course, remember that I'm supposed to be trying to capture these folks. There's no way that's going to happen with so many of them around. And I couldn't finish that one off in time. I could attempt to run away, but the doors are still barricaded until I capture more folks. And the only thing that would happen if I went over there is I would have woken up the other Ogma. One Ogma and two Boobry is quite enough, thank you. Especially since I don't really have a whole lot of health to work with here. And I think that was the life drop that I'm going to be getting. That shield effect that you saw there was not me somehow putting up a shield. That's just Boobry is invulnerable while it's attacking. And I'm really not doing well here. If I could just take down one of these guys, it makes the rest of it a bit easier. The worst part is, there aren't even any special effects here. You know, I can't bond Ogma, I can't put Boobry to sleep. Forgot about the tail. But at least with just one Boobry to fight, I've got a chance. Tiny chance. Tiny sliver of health. But at least I've got Azrai and I'm not stuck with Puka. I have no idea how this would have gone if I had been stuck with Puka. Now, I could quite easily capture Boobry, but I don't know how Ogma reacts to wind. Or really how most of the folks around here react to wind. I don't want to be stuck with a folk that I can't actually use to fight the other folks. That's one of the big problems with this quest. You probably have to run it a couple times, learn what folks are where, and come up with a strategy for trying to capture one of everything. You know, make sure you go into the rooms in the right order, possibly even don't fight certain folks because you'll need to go back for them later. And of course, in order to open each door, you actually do have to capture particular folks in each room. So you don't really have the option of saving the ones you want for later. But we've made it to the Miniboss chamber. And I am very glad that I picked up the slash element along the way, because it's the only thing that'll work against Barghest. Of course, I'm kind of stupid going after Barghest first. I'm not going to be able to capture with all those other guys around. So what I really need to do is defeat all the other folks here. And then once Barghest is in the clear, I'll be able to fight and capture it. Because I definitely do want to capture Barghest. Yeah, a bit too early to be capturing him just yet. But he's strong. He'll survive. And I'll get another chance at him. While he's got his spines out, is a pretty good time to attack the other folks, unless they're hiding inside the forest of spines. I feel so sorry for Ogma. But there we go. And he's standing on top of an item. I'll be able to get it as long as I manage to capture him before it disappears. Shouldn't be too hard. I think the items stick around for quite a long time. And it's just a cold tree nut anyway. I can get more of those anytime I need them. Go ahead and fill up on health before moving into the second half. I know I've gotten this far before. In fact, I think I've gotten to the last room. It's just, the last room is pretty nearly impossible. And the more time that I've wasted in the earlier rooms here trying to capture as many folks as possible, the more of a waste it feels when I finally get to that last room and then just die. So I'm going to wear something with some protection from elements that I'm actually likely to encounter here. And I know I won't be fighting any sleeper bond folks. No indication of if that's good, bad, whatever. Just, okay, you got 5 folks. Actually, I'm pretty sure that's terrible, considering there are 2 rooms I didn't even enter. And in the rooms that I entered, there's at least one type of folk I never captured. But we're into the second half where the actual strategy starts to come in. Because now we've got some folks with elements. And while Barghest is a nice, powerful folk, I don't know that he's necessarily the best choice for taking on some of these folks. And the good news is, I got Barrager. I have a nice general purpose attack. And seeing a Hobbledy and 2 Henkies, what I want to do is capture the Hobbledy first, and then use it to capture the Henkies instead of the other way around. I think I just got it before it dropped dead. So now I need to defeat the first Henky, so that I'm not trying to defeat a Henky with a water element attack. It probably can be done, but it would take ages. And for all I know, it might actually be immune. And this is where things used to break down for me, because I would have to move on to the next room with a folk like Henky, which isn't good. But at least I made the right choice of which one to keep, because this again leads to the short route. Ideally, I think what you need to do is get Hobbledy first, break the purple crystals, then get Henky and break the blue one. Because here's the problem. This room has Warthog and Gaboy. I can't damage either one of them with Henky. At all. I can't go back to that room, which I have no idea what will be in it. Presumably a destroy element folk, because you can't get this far with Barghest, and only the destroy element works on Gaboy. So I'm desperately trying to find a folk that I can beat with a water element attack. And I found some, but now I actually have to get the job done, and capturing one folk makes everything so much easier. And these guys aren't even really doing very much damage to me. So now I can just toss 4 hawks at a time in the middle of this crowd. Really, I think any of these guys would be pretty good to go on with. I mean, Daru would be great if I can get it. And it looks like that will indeed be the last folk I capture. Alright, so I've got a good attack to move on and fight the boss with. Because I remember what's coming at the end. And I remember I've gotten to that room before, just never with a folk I could use to do any damage to it, really. You know, I might have had something that I could hit it with, technically speaking, but I just never had the foresight to plan ahead properly, and I still can't hurt anything in this room, so not even gonna try. 2 more folks that are not going to go into my roster at the end. It's boss time, and guess who it is? It's Malabaricus and several Alrane. I'm amazed at how powerful Daru is. And I presume that that's a destroy element attack, the Malabaricus charge there. For some reason, the Alrane next to me just sat there spinning in place, barely out of range, and I managed to capture one of the other ones. And this is the point where, in my previous playthrough, I would have been just as screwed. Because Alrane is not that great a folk, I never built it up. This playthrough, at least, I've managed to make enough progress with Alrane that I can actually do something with it. You know, it's still not a great folk, but it does damage. And I know that Alrane can be defeated with slash element attacks, so while Malabaricus just keeps flinging itself at me. Fortunately, it's managed to work its way into a corner and get itself pinned. That is pretty much the key to victory for me right here. If I can stay out of Malabaricus' way long enough to take out the other Alrane, then I've got a fighting chance at it. Okay. It's just down to me and Malabaricus, and the Alrane that I had thrown out there and accidentally targeted. Malabaricus' attacks, much easier to block than to dodge, of course, but without a shield, I'm just going to have to keep moving out of the way. Wait until it gets stunned, charge up an Alrane attack, and do what damage to it I can before it recovers. And the pattern will repeat until I manage to do enough damage. Really shouldn't take all that long, I don't think. Like I said, this time I've worked with Alrane, I've built up its karmas. It should do enough damage to have some effect. And that could have been very bad. You do need to give yourself a lot of open space to work with so you can dodge all those missiles. And that's it. Assuming I can actually get this capture finished, which shouldn't be too hard. That's the quest in the bag. At least I presume so. Never actually gotten this far in it. If I were fighting some other folks, Malabaricus actually probably wouldn't be that bad of a folk to have on my pocket. But I don't believe that I am. This should be the end of it, because I have no idea what you would follow up Malabaricus with. Yep, there's the fairy to tell us how we've done. Perfect score? I'm lucky I got to the end at all. Yeah, I'm sure there's some really special reward for getting a perfect score. But at least I get something out of it. And I'm pretty sure this is an incredibly rare item. I just don't know what I'd do with it. He worries way too much about where his mail comes from. Especially since he's kind of a crossroads to the afterlife. And I figured I'd check just to make sure no new quests have opened at this point. But they haven't. I can just repeat the ones I've already done. So that's it for the quests for this chapter, and I'll see you guys next time for the grinding video.